Hi guys, so tonight we are going to talk about Cory Bigsby out of Hampton, Virginia, and what happened to his 4-year-old son, Codi, sometime around January of 2022. So in January of 2022, Codi Bigsby was just 4 years old. He lived with his father, Cory Bigsby, in Hampton, Virginia. They lived in an apartment complex called Buckrow Point in Hampton, Virginia. Cory was the primary caregiver for Codi, as well as Codi's siblings, 5-year-old, and a set of twins that were 2 years old at the time. In January 22, he was the full-time parent for these 4 children, all under the age of 5. On January 31st, 2022, Cory Bigsby called 911 to report that he had not seen his 4-year-old son, Codi, since 2 a.m.
Hampton 911, where is your emergency?
Hell yes, I think my son is missing.
What's your address?
It's Ranelette Drive.
You said you think your son is missing?
Yes, yes.
Why do you think that?
I just went out, I got up and got dressed because we were supposed to be moving today, right? After I fed the babies, I went and got dressed, and when in the room where he was supposed to be at, I went in there to get my coat, and he wasn't in there, so I ran outside, looked everywhere, tried to find him. I don't know where he's at.
Okay, how old is he?
He's 3. No, 4. He's 4.
Okay, do you know what he was wearing, and when's the last time you saw him?
Yes, last night I saw him. He tapped me, asked me can he go outside, and sometimes he usually creeps outside at night.
Okay, what's his name?
I just need help finding him.
What's his name?
Codi.
Okay, how tall is he approximately?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, what was he wearing last night? Do you remember?
I want to say like he was like 3'5". No, he wasn't wearing pajamas. He was wearing black sweatpants. He was wearing black socks, and he had on a black shirt.
Have you checked the entire house? See if maybe he's hiding anywhere?
Yes, I have checked the entire house, the closets and everything.
Okay.
He had on Spider-Man. I think he had on his Spider-Man flip-flops because they're not here. And his black jacket is missing.
Okay. And you said the black jacket?
Yes.
Okay, and what's your last name?
Bigsby.
And is his last name Bigsby as well?
Yes.
Okay, is there a better phone number than the one you're calling on? Because we're not able to call this one back because it's disconnected phone.
Yes, you can call
041. Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Alright, we already have you sent route to you, okay? Just give us a call back if anything changes, okay?
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
As you just heard, he said he hadn't seen him since 2 a.m. that morning, that the night before, Codi had asked to go outside, which I'm assuming he told him no, but in the 911 call, as you just heard, he said that that was not unusual for Codi to just randomly up and go outside at 4 years old. Of course, police immediately began looking for this little baby 4-year-old Codi everywhere. They searched everywhere to try to find him. They also asked that Cory come into the police department to give them as much information as possible about where Codi could be, what could he be thinking, where could he be going, because I'm sure, just like I'm thinking right now, it is highly, highly unlikely and very strange that a 4-year-old would, first of all, want to go out at night and have enough wherewithal to ask his father to go out somewhere at night, and then to go so far as to actually leave the house when it's dark, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's the last time he claims to have saw him. And at that point, he was asking to go outside. So like I said, for several hours, the police were asking Cory all types of questions and, trying to figure out where Codi could possibly be, or actually just to understand what was going on during that time frame. The police did a news conference the very next day on February 1st to get the community support to try and help locate Codi, or get someone to come forward who had actually seen Codi during that time or at any point when after he was reported missing. In addition to that, the chief of police during that time also said that both parents, both Cory and the children's mother, were persons of interest, likely because they would have been the last people to have seen these children, particularly Codi. It was determined during this time that, like I said earlier, Cory was the full-time parent. These children's mother lived in Washington, D.C., and we will find out why later on. So now, just 3 days later, February 3rd, police announced that they have charged Cory Bigsby with several counts of child neglect. They announced that Cory, during the course of their investigation in the disappearance of Codi, they were told by Cory that he frequently left these children home alone, all under the age of 5, to care for themselves while he ran errands and went to visit people. He explained that he would leave them home because they were too much of a burden to kind of pack them up, I guess, car seats and seat belts and bags and clothes and all of that kind of stuff, like, that things that parents have to do. He pretty much said that that was too much of a burden for him when he just needed to go run errands or go visit people, so he would leave them home alone to fend for themselves. During this time that he's being questioned, police understand also that yes, he would do this, but he would also do it and they would have no means to contact him or anybody else for that matter while they were left home alone for God knows how long. Again, guys, at this point, I'm pretty sure, like you guys are, where is their mother? So now, Cory is behind bars. He is now being charged with child neglect, like I said, several charges. And fast forward to February 8th, where he has a preliminary bond hearing to try and get bond for these charges. During the bond hearing, we find out that Cory is married. His estranged wife testified during the bond hearing that she would be willing to do whatever needs to be done to help him meet his obligations for bond. But I'm guessing she couldn't help him meet the obligations for watching these kids. Like, she couldn't help him take care of these kids. And also, I do want to point out that this woman, the estranged wife, is not the mother of the 4 children that he had full custody of. Where is the mom? In addition to the wife's testimony, police also testified that they have evidence proving that Cory would leave these kids home for several hours, not just a few hours, not just a few minutes. It was several hours. He would leave them home when he wanted to go to Walmart, when he wanted to go to car dealerships, when he wanted to go visit friends. He left these kids home for as long as 6 hours by themselves. A 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and 2 2-year-olds, a set of twins. 2 years old, Codi, 4 years old, and then a 5-year-old, home alone by themselves for as long as 6 freaking hours. As this case continues to progress and the community is now desperately trying to find Codi, tensions start to rise in the community. Community members are questioning why Codi hasn't been found. They're questioning why the police are putting so much focus and attention on Cory. Duh. I don't even know why that's a question, but they were. They felt like the police was not focused on looking for Codi. They were more focused on Cory. During a community meeting with the community members as well as the council members. The chief of police explained to the council members as well as the community that they had a pretty strong indication and a pretty good understanding of what went on in this case, and were not neglecting the search for Codi. They were actually focusing in on who they believed knows way more than what they're telling about what happened to Codi or where Codi could be. So now what comes to light is that unfortunately there is reports, or the chief announced that he found out that some portions of this investigation was not handled to the best of its ability, that during the initial questioning of Cory, the lead investigator, failed to allow Cory to speak with counsel during the investigation. You know, you get asked to speak to an attorney and all questioning is supposed to stop. Unfortunately, probably because the lead investigator was pissed off at what he was finding out, he refused to allow Cory to speak to an attorney after he requested. So he continued questioning him and interrogating him, which they suggest was a very heated interrogation. And quite honestly, rightfully so, I know that everything should have stopped and he should have been given the opportunity to talk to counsel, but I do not think that they were too hard on him. So this came about basically that between the time of January 31st and February 1st, this is when Cory had asked to speak with an attorney. He wasn't allowed to speak with an attorney after being interrogated, I think, for somewhere around 7 hours. No food, tired, sleepy, you know, all the usual that criminals, you know, complain about when they're on the hot seat, having to answer questions for things that they've done. So basically the chief of police says that Cory Bigsby was being questioned at the police department after reporting Codi missing on January 31st. Ultimately, he made a confession in the early morning hours of February 1st, following a polygraph test and a heated exchange between the lead investigator and him. The chief of police says that Bigsby initially waived his right to an attorney, but made another separate statement about wanting counsel after a follow-up interview. Of course, the chief of police says at that time his request should have been honored. He goes on to say that the detective that violated the procedure was relieved of his duties and placed on paid leave after he was tipped off about what had happened. So now this case is like in full swing, guys. So, you know, he has these several neglect charges. You know, the police are investigating. A judge has been assigned to this case. This guy has gotten an attorney. And then here we go with the issue of all the judges in the Hampton Circuit Court recused themselves of handling this case, which is really weird. I don't really understand why. I'll see if I can find some information on it and put it in the comments. But ultimately, they all recused themselves, and as a result, it sounds like this was some sort of planned thing for whatever reason, but as a result, they recused themselves, and the chief judge for the Hampton County Circuit Court petitioned the Supreme Court of Virginia to appoint a judge to handle the case. During this time where the recusal was going on, the police also had apparently found additional information which led them to believe that Cory, in fact, was probably lying about the last time that he actually saw his son, and that they wanted to expand or extend their timeline for the last sightings of Codi back to November of 2021. So basically from November 2021 to January 31st instead of the night before like Cory claimed. News outlets were all over this case, particularly wavy.com in Virginia. They were everywhere. They were on the scene with all of this. Reporters even met with neighbors in the apartment complex. One neighbor specifically advised that, or told that he always heard these kids coming from this apartment being loud, playing, crying, you know, just being loud kids. He said that he never saw them outside. He never saw them coming and going from the apartment. He never saw an adult taking trash out or bringing food in or taking the kids somewhere. He just basically heard these kids. He only had one sighting of them when he was leaving one day and saw them standing on a dresser or something, looking out the window and waving to him. Outside of that, he had never really seen these kids. He noticed that they were really small and they just seemed like they were in chaos. He even had to go to the door and try to get somebody to get them under control because they were being so loud. He said he would go to the door. No one would actually come to the door. They would just, from behind the door, apologize. He said because they weren't doing anything to get the kids to stop making all kinds of crazy noise, he would actually bang on the walls to get them to stop, like screaming and jumping around and doing whatever they were doing, and that is the only way that they would stop. During this investigation, Codi's mom comes forward. She, like I said, lives in Washington, D.C. She comes forward and says that she has not seen Codi since June of 2021. When one of the kids had a birthday party. This is why extended their timeline. In addition to finding in Cory's phone that the last photos of Codi are from that birthday party, which occurred in June of 2021. In June of 22, the case did go to grand jury. The grand jury did decide to indict. So now we are looking forward to a trial date for these numerous neglect charges, all having nothing to do with the whereabouts of Codi at that time. It is during this hearing where detectives testified that Cory told them during the interrogation that he would leave the kids at home alone because they were just too much of a handful when he wanted to go run his errands and go visit people. And meanwhile, those errands were going to Walmart, Wally World, and going to car dealerships. So it was too much of a handful to take them, pack bags, diaper bags, change clothes, get the kids dressed, make sure they look decent. It was too much for that, too much to put them in a car seat. But it was also too much to call a freaking babysitter to come and watch these kids, or even call his estranged wife, who's willing to help him meet his bond obligations. But it was too much to call her to say, hey, can you watch these kids for a little bit? So now during this, as the investigation continues, it is found out that while Cory is in jail waiting for this trial, he tells a corrections officer that he wanted them to take down a note. And so they come to his cell or wherever he is in the jail and are prepared to take down a note. And let me tell y'all what Cory decides to tell them. He decides to basically tell them to write down his confession, that he found his son unresponsive, tried CPR but could not revive him, tried several times. And because he couldn't revive him, he decided at that time to go outside and, have a little talk with God, begging God to save Codi. After he decided to go outside and beg God to save Codi, he then decided to walk back in the house and see if God was listening, and decided to help him and, make Codi stay alive. And checked on Codi and found that he wasn't breathing. So Cory then proceeds to say that it took him a long time, I guess, basically to come to terms with what really happened. So he decided to, 3 days later, I guess, understand and truly realize that Codi was no longer with us. He decided to pack Codi up inside of a trash bag. That's what the man told the corrections officer. He put this baby in a trash bag and let the bag sit for 3 days while him and all these other kids are running through the house. Let the bag sit for 3 days. Then on the third day, he decided to take the bag and drive to some street, Garrett Morgan Boulevard, I guess in the area of where he lived, and put the bag or bury the bag behind a random building. So this is his confession to a corrections officer in jail while he's awaiting trial on these separate neglect charges. The CO wrote down what he said and had him sign it, which he did sign it. This was disclosed during one of the hearings. So now we're almost at trial, right? We're coming up. Trial is scheduled for November 7th, but here we go on November 2nd, just a few days before trial is supposed to move forward. There is a hearing on a motion to suppress by Cory's attorneys to suppress several statements that were made during the investigation pertaining to Cody's disappearance. Because the defense is filing this motion to suppress, of course the prosecutors were pissed off, because this would mean now you have to bring in or parade in 30 people to come and testify to validate what they said or what these statements were, to combat the defense's motion to suppress, and basically turning this whole process into a circus. Of course, this was just a stall tactic to delay the trial. And it worked. They ended up having to delay the trial. In addition to the motion to dismiss, to suppress the records, the defense attorney decides to suggest that Cory is losing his damn mind and they need to have a mental evaluation to see if he's fit to stand trial. So you guys, now the defense attorney is requesting a mental evaluation because Cory is acting like he's losing his damn mind, obviously as a stall tactic. And of course, the judge has to or honors that request. Y'all, hold on. With my camera, I feel like it's doing weird things, so I'm just trying to fix it, and I'm sorry. So now, after the first mental evaluation is complete, they come back to court. The psychologist says that Cory, of course, and obviously, is fit to stand trial. And guess what? Because his attorneys didn't want to hear that and are just making a mockery of this whole thing, totally forgetting the fact that there is a 4-year-old child missing, or the fact that there were 4 children being ridiculously neglected. They dispute this claim that Cory is fit to stand trial and demands the court to order another or second mental health evaluation to make sure, and basically to validate or find a way to validate what they're saying, which is Cory is not fit. He's going through some sort of mental health crisis. The judge ends up ordering a competency evaluation in January because the defense did not like the fact that the psychologist said that Cory was able to stand trial and knew exactly what was going on. But the court found that competency evaluation inadmissible because these idiots of a defense decided to select a psychologist that was not on the court's approved list. Because they decided to, again, do something so silly and stupid, this continues to cause delays with the neglect trial. Adding fuel to this whole thing that Cory is somehow in dire straits, losing his mind, going crazy or whatever, is the fact that during these hearings, family is attending, family sees him. He's clearly lost weight. He lost about 50 pounds, probably because he has now conjured up this defense in his mind that he's going crazy and he's going to act crazy to match what he's saying or what's being said by his attorneys. In March, because the defense can't get their act together, the judge decided to order a 2-month restorative services inpatient mental health treatment for Cory. So for 2 months, he went to a state mental health facility. Now, during this hearing, because the defense attorney is, I'm gonna call her a joke. She's a joke, she's ridiculous. I understand defending your clients, but you defend your clients with integrity. I feel like she was totally not defending her client with integrity throughout the entire process to this point. She decides to file another motion to dismiss. This is one of many that she's filed throughout this whole process. This time she files a motion to dismiss, stating that the letter that Bigsby wrote while in jail to the CO that it was a clear indication, him writing a letter was a clear indication that he had lost his mind. Actually, correction, that letter, he wrote another letter. So the first thing that he did with the CO was actually have the CO write the letter, and he signed it. Then he proceeds to write his own letter, and whatever was written in that letter apparently was so stupid and ridiculous that she used that as a method to say that he had lost his mind and wanted to file a motion to dismiss because, again, he's not fit to stand trial. He's out of his mind. He's, you know, whatever. Anything you want to come up with, he was it, so that he did not have to stand trial for this case. This is what got him sent to the state hospital for this restorative services, to make sure that he was in fact able to stand for trial when they actually get to trial. So as a side note to this letter, investigators, reporters, everybody is on this case because it is so sad, right? It is just unthinkable that a 4-year-old would be missing and someone so stupid as his parent, his father, would be playing games with the court. So basically, a reporter asked Cory's attorneys directly, Matheny Willard, if the letter was a suicide note that he wrote or confession. And she said no. But the very next day, that was on a Friday, the very next day, Saturday morning, this idiot defense attorney starts texting reporters and everyone, all of the reporters, changing her initial statement. She said, quote, "Because the statement is verifiably untrue, nonsensical, and bizarre, I do not consider it to be either one," meaning a suicide note or a confession. Again, where is your integrity? Like you're playing around with the court system, and you're playing around with something that's really serious. This guy, we're not even talking about the disappearance of Codi. We're talking about how these 4 children were cared for or not cared for in his presence and in his care. So let's check out the mental health evaluation results from the doctor as a result of him staying for this 2-month inpatient, situation. So basically, the doctor that was seeing him during this time said that they did not believe he was competent enough to stand trial. They said basically that Cory understands the roles of the judge and the attorneys and the prosecutors, but he does not have the rationale to understand the circumstances or the implications of the entire legal process. That's what the psychologist said. I say he's basically faking crazy, right? He's faking that he doesn't understand what's going on. He's faking that he's out of his freaking mind. As an example, the doctor says, when he asked Bigsby about the 30 charges he was facing, because now there were 7 neglect charges, but they bumped it up to 30. Of course, y'all know that this is all about putting pressure on him to either tell the truth about where Codi is or tell the truth about anything, because at this point, I don't even know if anybody really believes anything that he's saying, other than the fact that they know that Codi is no longer there, and they know that they have not seen Codi, or he has not seen Codi since June of 2021, or that's what they strongly believe. So they're just really trying to find out what truly happened to this child. And at this point, they are tacking on charges, tacking on all kinds of things to get him to speak up and talk about what he really did or what's really going on. You guys, I'm fixing my light. I'm sorry. This thing is being weird too. It's just, I don't even know what to say. Hopefully it's not a bother that I'm doing this, but I'm sorry. So as an example, this is why the psychologist thinks that Cory's crazy. I say Cory's faking crazy. All right, so here we go. When the doctor asked him about the 30 charges he's facing, he said he was arrested for, quote, buying too many groceries, and that he didn't take the kids anywhere when they were asleep. Another example, he says, I guess when the psychologist asked him about why, you know, this whole thing is going on, or why were they investigating him, or why were they even talking to him, Cory told them that maybe they think I'm smart and maybe they want me to give my kids back. Maybe I might be ready to go home. These are all his words verbatim. This is the bull crap. This is the shite that he's saying. His defense, along with his family, claims that his Army career created this paranoia that he's experiencing. They substantiated this bull. They promoted his ignorance and his ridiculous fakery. He even threatened to unalive himself. He was placed on S-Watch. They caught him in while he was locked up, hoarding medicines, doing all of these stupid things to feed into this nonsense or this defense that he's crazy. You know, not doing things that you know, he was hoarding the meds. Why didn't he take them? Because you know he's not crazy, and you know he's not trying to do anything to himself. This is all a ploy. This is all a game. And to prove that it was all a ploy, and to prove that it was all a game, and to prove that his defense is just his defense attorney is the biggest dummy ever, he declined mental health treatment. After all of these accusations or all of these threats about all of these threats about the meds, all of this talking out of his head and pretending like he doesn't know what's going on with this case and what's happening, he declined treatment. I just want to go back and tell you exactly what this psychologist Dr. Zwermer concluded. He concluded that Bigsby understands the roles of the judge, jury, and prosecution, but doesn't have a rational appreciation for his legal circumstances. What the hell does that mean? Why wouldn't he have a rational understanding of his legal circumstances? Or the ability to help his defense team? Clearly, he had the ability to help his defense team because they're faking like this guy is crazy. That's their defense. I just want to read verbatim what this doctor highlighted as his two instances to lead him to believe that Cory is out of his mind. I mentioned it just a few minutes ago, but I want to state it verbatim so that I do not misstate anything, so that you guys can hear how stupid and dumb these psychologists sound and how dumb this defense is. When the doctor asked Bigsby about the 30 charges he's facing, he said he was arrested for buying too many groceries and that he didn't take the kids when they were asleep. The doctor also asked Bigsby why he believed he was getting forensic evaluation, and he said, maybe they think I'm smart. Maybe they want to give me my kids back. Maybe I might be ready to go home. He's actually answering the questions kind of in the right context, which even further lets me know that he's full of shit and he needs to be pretty much under the jail. So now we're in June, and a new indictment, the one that really counts or not really counts, the new indictment that everyone has been waiting for is come into play, because they are alleging that Cory took Codi's life sometime around June 18th, 2021. So basically 6 months prior to him making that dumbass 911 call talking about this little baby decided, you know, had a habit of asking to go outside in the middle of the night. So he's not sure if that's what Codi actually did. This is the part of this case that I cannot wrap my brain around. This is the part of this case that is odd to me. I get it, but I don't. So basically, once he was indicted on this new charge, his attorney decided to file a motion for bond. And the judge ultimately granted the motion for bond with certain requirements, meaning that he was placed on house arrest, of course. He couldn't go anywhere unless he had to do doctor's appointments, the usual stuff. He had to wear the ankle monitor and all of that. But y'all, I just can't get over it. I cannot believe that he was allowed bond on this particular incident, but not the others. I do think, like, one of the articles mentioned that, you know, it's a little touchy because they do not technically have Codi's body. So that is one of the reasons why they potentially allowed him to have bond. I don't know if I agree with that, because then on the other hand, I'm like, what if he's lying about his so-called confession about what he did to Codi? What if he gets out on bond and then tries to find a way to continue to hide what he did to Codi? So now we fast forward to October of 2023. Another hearing. Attorney claims that Cory was coerced into falsely admitting that he took Codi's life in exchange for being able to eat lunch with his family. So she basically says that after being subjected to treatment that amounts to torture, his attorneys argued in the paperwork that he made those statements because they dangled lunch with his family over his head. Y'all let me know down in the comments what y'all think about this so far. The more I say these things out loud, the more I just get so agitated, and it's just so gross. Like, dude, your child. So as they're leading up to now the trial for the main trial, the taking of Codi's life, the defense attorney starts filing, again, similar to what she did in the neglect charges. She starts filing all this dumb junk. He now has a slew of attorneys too, if I'm not mistaken. But in this particular case, they filed a motion to force. This is the part that's going to make y'all want to scream and want to go find Cory and punch him in the face. His attorneys filed a motion to force the now 7-year-old child, who was 5 at the time, to force this child to testify in open court, as opposed to allowing him to testify like in a secluded area, not have to visibly look at his father. They filed a motion to require him to testify in camera, because in court, because the defendant has a right to confront his accuser, because this child is testifying against Cory. So basically, you want to intimidate your son. In addition to the judge denying that, the judge also denied their motion to throw out the confession. The judge ruled that all of his statements, his letters, his BS, his foolishness, all of it can be used in trial, and to allow the jury to make the determinations about whether or not that junk is true or made up, or whether or not he's out of his mind and just saying things. So I'm just going to read this verbatim in this letter. So it says, in this letter, Bigsby alleges, I, Cory J. Bigsby Sr., am confessing that on January 30th, 2022, I stepped outside of my apartment to get some items out of my car to wash clothes, and when I returned, I found my son, Codi Josiah Bigsby, laying at the bottom of the steps unresponsive. Now we got a different story, y'all. He must have fallen. I then tried to revive him by administering CPR several times over and over until I couldn't anymore. Then I prayed. I stepped outside. Here's where he starts to tell the full version. I stepped outside for a few minutes and talked to God, yada, yada, yada. As I prayed, I asked God to allow my son a second chance. Then I administered CPR again, but no response. So I panicked and prayed. After that, I placed him into a trash bag, and I placed him into the back of my truck. On the 21st of January, around 3:30 a.m., I took him to Garrett A. Morgan Boulevard and placed him into a receptacle bin. After I realized it was a trash can, took him out and put him into a hole I dug beside a tree inside the tree line. He has tape around his ankles and wrist, a cowboy rug under him, Beats headphones in his ears. I then ate and placed his bike and some trash after I ate at the scene. I'm just gonna pause for just a second, y'all. This is so crazy to me. Again, I'm gonna go back to what I said in the beginning. Where is this freaking mother? Guys, after all of the antics, the theatrics between Cory and his defense attorney, all their little shenanigans and scams, the case went to trial on March 4th of 2024, almost 3 years after Codi went missing. On March 12th, Cory Bigsby was found guilty of second-degree M and concealing a body. When the verdict was read in court, as you can see, Bigsby says nothing. He passes his cap to his family and he's escorted off to jail. After the verdict is read and everyone starts to leave the courtroom, of course, everyone goes outside and wait to see if anyone decides to speak to the press. The family decides to speak after the verdict, and of course, they are upset because, quote, this is his sister, y'all. She says, y'all presented the case as if he was already guilty, so I hope y'all are happy. That's his sister's remarks relating to her nephew's disappearance at the hands of her brother. At this point, I wouldn't even be like, you can't even speculate and say that he had nothing to do with it. She's saying, I hope y'all happy, like somebody fraudulently accused him. This dude has lied this entire time, making up different stories about what happened to his own son, a 4-year-old. Sentencing for Cory is scheduled for June 18th, 2024. Y'all, I'm going to do my best to keep track of that date. I'm going to calendar it. I really want to know what ultimately his sentence is for this instance. I am going to try to put in a clip in this video. He does do an interview with a news outlet. Now that the trial is done, he did an interview, and I'm going to tell you that interview is a full-on joke. He's belligerent. He's ridiculous. He is exactly who you would envision him to be by hearing what I've told you so far. A manipulator, a liar, somebody who's pretending, someone who has not a care in the world for these children or his responsibilities as a father. He's someone who is where he needs to be. He has no remorse. The entire time during the interview, he doesn't say anything about Codi. The interviewer is actually trying to get him to talk about Codi, guys, and he only wants to talk about how the system messed him up or how the system mistreated him. That's what he wants to talk about. So y'all, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Number one, let's talk about, where are these kids' mother? Where is the mother of these 4 children? What was going on where she decided to leave these 4 small babies with this person that seems like a monster? I'm going to read to you from an article on wavy.com recounting the mother's testimony during the trial. Codi Bigsby's mother, Dina Abdul Kareem, took the stand Wednesday in the M trial of Cory Bigsby and gave explosive testimony following the end of jury selection and opening statements. Cory Bigsby is charged with second-degree M and concealing their son's body. He reported the boy missing January of 2022, but Codi Bigsby has never been found. We know that. Kareem and Bigsby never married, but they had 4 kids in the span of 3 years, including a set of twins. Kareem was shown a picture of Codi as she testified for the Commonwealth. She said it was the last picture she knows of him, and it was in June of 2021, 6 months prior to him making that stupid ass 911 call. It was that month that prosecutors believe Bigsby unalived Codi, even though he did not report him missing until, they say, 7 months later. Dina, Kareem, their relationship ended in 2019. A year later, she testified she had major health problems. Kareem agreed that Cory could have custody. She agreed that he could have custody, but I'm going to let y'all know, I don't know if they mentioned it in this article, but I saw it somewhere, that she had a DV, domestic violence case against him because he threatened to unalive her prior to all of this happening now. But she still felt it okay to leave her children with him. I'm going to keep reading. This is the part that makes it even worse, that he had these 4 babies. The relationship ended in 2019, and a year later, she testified she had major health problems. Kareem agreed that Cory could get full custody. She also testified that at first, Cory did not want custody of Codi, calling him a mama's boy. He's the only one he didn't want custody of and called him a mama's boy. By that time, Dina, Kareem, was living in D.C. They agreed on a handoff point for the children halfway between D.C. and Hampton. She testified that November 1, 2020 was the last time she ever saw any of her children prior to Codi's disappearance, and that Cory refused to give her his home address in Hampton so she could visit. Now, she testified that he sent her an email in April of 2021 saying that, I need to bring Codi back to you. I don't want to severely hurt him. She said Cory told her that Codi had been fondling his younger twin brothers, a story that she doesn't believe herself. I don't freaking believe it. He's 4 and they were 2 at the time. The defense asked her, why didn't she investigate further to get the home address? Going on the internet, she claims she did. Why didn't she call police when Cory made the allegation to potentially harm Codi? I don't know the answer to that. Y'all, what would you guys do in that situation? If you were Dina Kareem and you were having or going through some health challenges and you needed someone to help you with these children, these small children, and you know that the father is a freaking idiot because he's threatened to harm you in the course of y'all relationship, and you need someone to watch these kids. Now, I can't speak for her, mental state or what she was truly going through. I have empathy for her because she was going through some health challenges, but I cannot get past the fact that clearly there's family, right? There's his family who, although they sound like idiots right now, they were available to help take care of these kids. If he has an uncle who's dishing out all this money for defense, why didn't she reach out to the uncle or his immediate family to see if they could watch the kids, or even call them to be like, hey, y'all see my kid or my kids because I can't get a hold of this idiot, or hey, he won't give me an address, or call the police. She didn't even, I don't understand it. I don't understand it, and I need you guys in the comments below to let me know what is going on with moms in particular who don't see no problem with dropping their children off to a father or to anybody for that matter and not care for them or not try to find them or figure out where they are or make sure they're okay. There has to be some sort of maternal something that tugs at you to be like, dang, I need to figure out where my kids are or find out what's going on. Put it down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think about this. Like, what is going on that parents can do this? They're not really parents, but moms, whatever you want to call them. What is like, why? How can you do that? Actually, could you do that? Could you be okay with giving custody to a father, especially in light of what she said as far as him threatening her in the past with having DV issues? I just don't understand it. I don't see it. Y'all, I don't see it. I don't know. I need somebody to fill me in on why this is a trend. I feel like it's a trend. I feel like it's happening quite often where you have moms who are unfit or unfit moms giving children or their responsibilities to unfit fathers. It's just crazy to me. It's so crazy to me. And then the last thing I want to touch on is that, remember I said that the defense wanted to prevent the older son from testifying in a separate room, wanting to basically force him to testify in open court so that dumb Cory can confront his accuser. Make me want to curse, y'all. Let me tell you what this child said, and then I'm gonna wrap it up, y'all. I'm just gonna really quickly tell you what this child said, and then we can, I'm gonna I thought I could tell you, but I thought I could pull up the article and I can't find it. But basically, he testified that he found his brother unresponsive on a bed with his eyes open, saying that his face was red. It was dry and it was bruised. This is what the 7-year-old is saying now in 2024, saying that he saw at the age of 5 in 21, somewhere around that time. It's still pretty unclear about the exact time. He says he tried to shake him to wake him up, but before going to tell Cory. He then went to tell Cory, and Cory was like, nothing's wrong. He said that he began to cry because he thought Codi was unalive. Guys, he was 5 years old or 4 years old the last time he saw his brother Codi. I was trying to read some more of the testimony from the brother. I can't get to it right now, but you guys, this is the story of Codi Bigsby, 4-year-old Codi Bigsby, who went missing or was reported missing in January of 2022 by his no good, sorry ass father, Cory, and he has not been found since. It is the saddest and most kind of like this, it's disgusting. He is the cutest little boy. Anybody with any half a sense would have been thrilled to take on the responsibility of taking care of him. I don't believe for 1 second anything that Cory says, except for the fact that parts of the story about what happened to Codi that day is likely to be true. Guys, we have got to start doing a better job at using our intuition, right? Using the intuition and the God-given instincts that we have as moms to protect our children at all costs. Even when we are at our lowest of low, I feel like we have to, it is our responsibility and our obligation. He didn't want this little boy, and he made it very clear that he didn't want Codi. She should have acknowledged that, and she should have done something, anything. I think he would have been better off going to the system, to be honest. I don't know, but someone else should have had him, because he would have had at least more of a fighting chance. This guy did not want this little boy from the very beginning. And quite frankly, he shouldn't have had any of the other kids. That's evident by everything that's been reported throughout this case. You guys, thanks for taking the time to listen to this story. I really want to challenge us as a community to start having conversations about these topics and the underlying issue, right? Not just the crime, not just what's happening in the news, not just what I'm telling you, this particular story, but like the underlying stuff about why. Why is it that moms are finding it so easy to give their children and their responsibilities up to people that they really don't know? She didn't know this dude. She shouldn't even really had kids with him because she didn't know him. Why is it that we are making these types of decisions, and why are we making some of the other decisions that we make? I ultimately want to take this channel to that direction where we have these stories and we talk about the real issues underneath what's going on with the story. Keep that in mind, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Please drop your comments down below. I will definitely be responding. We can definitely chit chat about this case. As soon as I start getting more viewers, y'all, I want to do lives so we can talk back and forth about this stuff. I've been saying that for 3 years, as long as I've been doing this YouTube, but I need to be more consistent. I know once I'm more consistent and I start bringing you guys consistent content, you guys will be consistent with me. And I just can't wait for us to be able to talk about this stuff and have some real dialogue that can hopefully promote change in our community. That's really all I got, y'all. Thank you for watching. And, you know, trust your instincts, y'all. Moms, dads, trust your instincts. Peace.